All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Increase Your Net Worth. Hope you're all doing really well today. Thanks for being on. If you're on right now, watching on Facebook or StreamYard, drop a comment. Kathy, good morning. Sherry, good morning. Leo, good morning. Shantae, Bob, everyone, good morning. Everyone watching on Facebook as well, good morning. Thanks for being here this morning. So today we're going to keep rolling with our Increase Your Net Worth. As we talk about a lot, as a real estate agent, you can make a lot of money. And what's just as important as making the money is what we are doing with it. Are we increasing our lifestyle with earned income, or are we using that earned income to increase our wealth so over time we can live a life of abundance through passive income, through income that we're not actively going out and having to work for? And keep in mind, definition of wealth: to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want. If you want to go sit on a beach for the next 6 months, the next year, could you do it and financially be okay? Could you do it for 5 years, 10 years, or is it a week and then I have to get back to work? Maybe it's a couple of days and I have to get back to work. So we're going to talk about increasing your net worth. Now, let's dive into our wealth creation. I feel that wealth is something that never stops. Wealth creation is something that never stops. It's something that we're going to consistently do for the rest of our lives. And step one in that is create income. Once we learn to create income, we have to increase income. All right. So increasing income, but then we have to put a plan around it, a tax plan and a plan around what we're doing with our income. Now, what I want to talk about today is a little bit about, think about it, with creating wealth. I believe in offense and defense. I'm a big believer in 90 to 95% of my focus is on offense. Go create more money, go make more money, go earn more money, go bring more money in. Because of the industry we're in, a lot of us on this call, we're in a real estate industry where we can go earn a lot of money. We have the potential to earn an unlimited amount of money. No one will ever put a cap on your income. Now, the income levels that realtors make vary greatly. I understand that, but everyone has the same opportunity to go live an abundant life and make a lot of money. So 90% of my time, roughly, or 95, is on how do I go find more money? If I need more money, what do I need to do to go out and get it? But then I also need to spend a portion of my time on what I call defense, offense and defense. Defense is in my expense control, because the blessing of our industry is we have the ability to go earn a lot of money in unlimited amount. And also the negative downside is that it's easy to spend a lot of money in this business. It's easy to let expenses start to get out of control, both personally and in our business. It's easy to start saying, well, we're having a really good month or a good couple of months, to start saying, well, you know what, what's $500 a month? If it's going to give me X amount of return, no big deal. So we start spending $500 a month, and then we don't pay attention to the return that's generating for us. And all of a sudden, that 500 might turn into 1,000. It might turn into 5,000 a month. It might turn into $10,000 a month of expenses that aren't giving us a return. So what I want to talk about today is a little bit of defense and what we can do to get our expenses under control. So let's go to, I'm going to switch over real quick. Let's pull up our net worth tracker. If you've watched the first couple of calls, we've gone through the net worth tracker. Leo just linked it there as well. If you haven't looked at the net worth tracker yet, pull it up and let's go through it. And what I want to talk about today in the net worth tracker. So again, if you haven't watched this yet, go back or haven't watched this series yet, go back and watch session 1. This is where we dive into the net worth tracker. What I want to do on our net worth tracker today is go to our liabilities tab at the bottom. And I want to talk about the liabilities that we have and how we can get out from under those liabilities. So we've got our made up person here. And our made up person here has $3,000 on one credit card, $6,000 on another, $7,000 on another, and $15,000 in student loans. Now, if this actually didn't look too terribly different from my own finances back in the day, except this one was closer to like that. Yeah, but so here's what we want to look at. With our credit cards, a couple of things. Again, defense in the expense control. The first thing I want to talk about is if we have high interest credit card debt. If we have credit card debt on our personal cards and on our business cards, and we're getting hammered 20, 25, 29%, even 16%, double digit percent, right? We need to look at getting that debt paid off as quickly as possible. That high interest credit card debt and paying the minimums on those credit cards, we're never going to get out from under that debt. It's going to keep growing. It's going to keep compounding. So what I would say is this. We talked 2 weeks ago about compound interest and the ability or the benefits of what compound interest can do. But here's the thing. If I'm compounding my money at 10, 11, 12, 13%, and I'm saving my money and getting compound interest on that through an index fund or a mutual fund or whatever the case may be, but I'm also paying 30% on my credit cards on interest, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't make the sense to save right now and make 13 or 10 or 8% on my money if I'm paying 30% on borrowed money for buying stuff that I probably didn't need in the first place. So what we need to do is look at, if this is the situation we're in right now, if we have high interest credit card debt, we need to look at, before we even start thinking about saving, let's focus on getting this debt gone, because this is the debt that can really, really handicap us from our wealth building and our wealth strategy. So if I have, let's just say, for instance, I've got my $3,000, $6,000, and $7,000 credit card. So I have 16 grand in credit card and I have 104,000 in student loans. My student loan interest rate is probably substantially lower than my credit card. So I want to put a lot of my focus on my credit card. Now, let's say, for instance, my $3,000 credit card has a 18% interest rate and my $7,000 has a 29% interest rate. I'm not necessarily concerned with what the rate is on these credit cards. I just want to get the balances gone. So if you've listened to Dave Ramsey ever, I think Dave, again, excellent at getting out of debt, building wealth. I'm not super sold on his philosophy, but from a debt perspective and getting out of debt, I think there's really no one better to listen to. But he calls it the debt snowball. We're not going to focus on the interest rate percentage. What we're going to do is look at the lowest balance credit card, and we are going to go attack that credit card and get it gone. And so if I have my lowest balance here is $3,000, here's what my philosophy would be, and this is what I did. I took 30% of every commission check I made, and I paid off. I would apply it toward my credit card, the one with the lowest balance. So if I got a $9,000 commission check, I would take 30% of that, $3,000, and I would go pay off this credit card. If I got a $1,000 commission check, and $300 would go right immediately to my balance of my credit card. So 30% is the number I chose. You can pick a number, whatever number you want, 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%, whatever you're comfortable with. Pick a percentage. I would say no less than 10%. And what that's going to allow you to do is every time you get a commission check now, again, my example was 30%. 30% immediately was going to pay off credit cards. I wasn't worried about saving at this time. I wasn't worried about investing, into my IRAs. I was solely focused on, I'm going to get this high interest credit card debt gone. And the reason we're going after what we call the lower balance and just attacking that is because we're going to build momentum on that. And that's why he calls it the debt snowball. Think about a snowball rolling down a hill. In theory, it's picking up more snow, getting larger and larger, gaining more momentum. And that's where we're going to build momentum around this. So I'm going to take my commission, my compensation check, right? And whatever that number is, let's use 10,000 for example. I pull 3,000 out. I'm going to then pay my credit card off. So I get another check for 8,000 the next month. I take 2,400 and I apply it toward my $6,000 balance. I get another $7,000 commission check. I take 2,100 and I apply it toward my $6,000 balance again. I'm knocking that down, and you'll find that if you do this, you can get out of debt fairly quick if you have income coming in. So it goes back to my philosophy around, we need to go create income, increase income. What's cool about this is you have the ability, you can pay all of your credit card debt off in 1 month if you go out and sell some houses and have a fantastic month. You could make $16,000. You could make $30,000. You could make $32,000. You could make $50,000. You could make $100,000 in the next month and pay all of this off. So if you feel overwhelmed right now by the amount of debt you have, one, I would focus on, what do I need to do to get out of this? How much money do I need to earn? If you use the philosophy I used and do 30%, how much do I need to go earn in order to get my debt paid off? And how quickly can I do it? So when I started putting focus and attention on this, my debt started to reduce very, very, very quickly. And then what happened was I got my credit cards paid off, and then I attacked my student loans. Now, granted, my student loans, I had one at like 7%, which in theory, I think anything over 6%, we should be looking at paying that off quickly. Anything under 6%, like 4 to 6%, it's use your best judgment. Anything under 4%, probably in pretty good shape. That's pretty close to free money. So if I had a house payment right now at 2.75%, I probably, or a mortgage, I probably wouldn't be overly concerned with getting that paid off, because I could take that same money I'm going to use to pay my house off and invest it and get 10, 11, 12% or greater if I'm investing in real estate. So if I have a very low interest mortgage payment, our interest rate fixed on my house, I'm not overly concerned with paying that off. What I would be concerned with is how do I get my plan around getting out of my credit card debt quickly. So keep that in mind. The debt snowball can work really well. Set a percentage for yourself and say, okay, I'm allocating this percentage of every check I earn to get my credit cards paid off. And then what would I need to earn in order to get this paid off? So if I had $16,000, for example, here in credit card debt, and I was going to allocate 30% of that, how much would I need to earn in order to get my debt paid off? So this is one way. I feel that when we start taking control, like here was my philosophy back in the day. I didn't want to look at my credit cards. I was terrified to open up my checking account. I was terrified to go out and get the mail because I knew it was going to be nothing but bad stuff. I didn't want to answer my phone when I had unknown numbers call me because I knew they were probably going to be creditors. And it was a bad spot to be in. When I finally took control of the situation and said, I am going to get myself out of this position. I put myself in the position. It was my decision to put myself through school and take the degree I wanted with an aviation degree and go spend money on a degree that I didn't use. My decision to do it. I spent the money. I borrowed the money and spent it. It was my decision to rack up the credit card debt in college. Didn't have to. I could have lived a lesser, not so fun lifestyle. Right? But all of those were self-inflicted. I chose to spend the money, and now it's up to me. So it was my decision to do it, and it was no one put me into that position but myself. So now it becomes my position to get me out of that. And so I took control of the situation. I said, I'm going to go figure this out and make this happen. And I started opening my mail. I started answering my phones. I started doing those things. I stopped avoiding, and I started taking accountability and control over my life. And so what you'll find is that no matter where you are today, in whatever financial position you're in, I think step one is, if you're in a bad financial position, acknowledge the fact that it's probably your fault that you're there. And I don't mean that to be harsh, but we can blame outside factors, but at the end of the day, those outside factors are going to do nothing for us. Now I could blame and be like, oh, I was young. I didn't realize all this debt I was taking on was going to financially cripple me for so many years. I could make excuse after excuse after excuse, and I probably would still be in that same position today. Or I could just accept the fact that I made mistakes. I'm going to own those mistakes, and I'm going to figure out a way to make it better. I'm taking control back of my situation. So I want you to think about wherever you're at right now, what would it take? How much would you need to earn? And are you committed to putting that percentage toward your debt? Can you potentially and you may have to reduce your lifestyle for a period of time. You may have to quit spending. Maybe you're buying things you don't need. And that leads me into my next thing I want to talk about here is we need to take accountability or account for where is our money going? We need to know where our money's going. So when I look at this, what I want you to do as an exercise this week, take your bank statement out and print off your bank statement for the last 3 months. Take your credit card statements and print them out for the last 3 months. And then I want you to grab a highlighter and I want you to start highlighting anything you see reoccurring. So any expense you see reoccurring, I want you to highlight it. Like a YouTube subscription. Maybe you pay for the YouTube thing that doesn't have ads. And it's $16.99 a month. Highlight it. Maybe you have an Audible account from an Audible book and you highlight it. Maybe you have Netflix. Highlight it. Maybe you have Amazon as well. Highlight it. Maybe you have Sling as well. Highlight it. Maybe you have Sling and YouTube TV and you probably don't need both, but you didn't realize you were paying for it. Highlight it. Highlight every single monthly expense you have that is reoccurring. That's just hitting your card or hitting your account every month. So recap, I'm printing off last 3 months of my bank statements. I'm printing off last 3 months of every credit card I have. and I'm going to start highlighting every reoccurring expense I have. And then what I want you to do is start going through that and saying, do I need this expense? Do I need this? Do I need the $2.99 that I pay Apple for the additional storage? Do I need it? Is it necessary? Yes or no? And I want you to do this with your business account and business credit cards if you have them, as well as your personal account and personal credit cards. And I want you to start highlighting, and then I want you to start doing an exercise we call red light, green light, where it's kill it or keep it. Is it necessary? Do I need it, or could I do away with it? And I'll give you an example. When I do this exercise, I try to do it monthly. I was paying for Audible, audiobooks. And then I also had a couple other things that were really similar. But my Audible, I had like 9 credits. So I had like 9 or maybe it was 7 credits. It's 7 or 9 credits there for books. And so I was continuing to pay and rack up credits. Why? I still had 9 books I hadn't even used yet. So I canceled it. Cancel my account, and once I get through all of those books, then maybe I'll pick that back up. But it was something like $15.99 or $19.99. Get rid of it. All right. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of money, but it's $15.99 I didn't need to be spending. The other thing was YouTube. I paid for the $15 or $17 for YouTube. That was the ad-free thing. And I like to listen to YouTube stuff especially at the gym, but I didn't need it. I could suffer through 4 seconds of ads, so I got rid of it. So there's $30 right there, $360 a year that I could, if I had debt, could apply it toward my debt. Right now, you might not think, well, what's $360? Well, it's $360 less that you're going to pay on high interest credit card debt. And how many other little expenses like that do you have reoccurring that you could get rid of right now? So if you're watching this right now, drop in something right now off the top of your head that you feel you could cut out that is not necessary. Drop it in the comments. Let me know. What is a reoccurring expense you have right now that you know for certain you could get rid of? Like one reoccurring expense I know I have is Amazon Prime. I use that way too much. So whatever I pay on that $99 a year, it's probably not going away. But if I didn't use it, I would get rid of it. So in this exercise, be thinking about that. We're going to red light, green light. Prime. Okay, Sherry can get rid of Prime. Yeah. So you went against my example. I don't think I could get rid of Prime. We have too much stuff coming to our house. What we could do, though, is reduce the number of things we buy on Amazon, because Amazon makes it very, very easy to purchase. I think everyone would agree with that. And they make it pretty easy to return as well. So we could be looking at that. We got Netflix, YouTube, Netflix. Yeah, Netflix is a big one. All right, and Netflix, their cost goes up every year as well. And especially too, what we find a lot of times as well is we might have like 3 or 4 streaming services that we don't need. $20 a month for unlimited car washes that I probably use every 8 to 12 weeks. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely, Diana. Yeah, we could get rid of that for sure, right? It's yeah. So see, like, and here's what generally happens is we think about, $20 a month, no big deal, but it adds up. And so with this exercise, and we're getting some people here just dropping stuff in here, absolutely, that we could be getting rid of. Now, what if we did this? What if we said we go through our expenses this week and we do this exercise? Who thinks they could cut out $500 a month? Does anybody think they could cut $500 out of their month budget? Or drop a number in that you think you could cut out on just reoccurring stuff. Kathy says, I still have a landline. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Is that, yeah, awesome. Who else has a landline? Anybody else? That's awesome. Yeah. But let's think about this. Could we cut out $500 in reoccurring expenses if we needed to? Is there stuff we could part with? Around 75, still have a landline. I do. Sherry still has a landline. Diana, 57 a month. Okay. A lot of people. Wow, a lot of people have landlines still. Awesome. Interesting. Yeah, that's surprising. All right. But how much do we think we could cut out of our reoccurring? And then once we look at that, what does that number look like? What would that money do for us? And can we take the reoccurring expense that we're spending and apply it directly to our high interest credit card debt? Or if we don't have any high interest credit card debt and we're out of debt, could we apply that extra money to our 401k, to our Roth IRA, to our traditional IRA, to our SEP IRA, whatever we might have from an investment vehicle. Could we apply it toward that? And what would that look like compounding over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years? Right? So we have to be looking at this strategically. And again, it's offense and defense. But from a defense perspective, I want to go look at every recurring expense I have, and I'm highlighting everything. Do I need this? Do I need this? Do I need this? In my personal and my business. So I'm looking at those things first, my reoccurring. There are sometimes I have reoccurring expenses on my stuff that I have no idea what they are. And I have to, like, I was paying for a $14.99 for a, I don't know, some website thing. And I had to go Google, like, what is this? And it was something I signed up for a while back. And I think it was a free trial that we got, it was a free trial for 2 weeks. And then it starts hitting your account. And then you forget about it. And all of a sudden you got these debits on your or these credit card things hitting your account. $14.99. I had to go Google, what is this? And I had to figure out a way to go cancel it because I didn't even know the account I had. Stuff like that happens all the time. And what happens with this is expense creep, right? It starts off small, then we add another something in, and then we add another something in, then another expense, then another expense. And what was once, oh, it's only $20 a month. Now all of a sudden we have 5 or 6 only $20 a month. And now it's $120 a month on stuff we don't need. And we could easily get rid of. And sometimes it's so cheap that it's more of a pain in the butt to take the time to cancel it. It's only a few dollars a month, but do it. Take the time, get it canceled. It's a few dollars more a month. Now, granted, a few dollars a month is not going to make you wealthy, but what's more important is the discipline behind this. I have to be a disciplined person to look at my accounts religiously, and for me, it's weekly. I'm looking at things weekly. I'm seeing how much money came in, how much went out. I'm looking at my things like my P&L on a monthly basis. And then I'm looking at credit card statements and bank statements on a monthly basis as well. So first step, reoccurring, highlighting everything reoccurring, red light, green light with that. Keep it or kill it. If it's not generating a return for me, if I'm not using it, like Diana said, $20 a month for unlimited washes, only using it once every 3 months. Probably not worth it. We could probably get rid of that expense. I'm going to get rid of it. And then I'm going to looking at what were my expenses that maybe weren't monthly, but maybe I had bigger things that I spent money on this month and wasn't necessary. Were they necessary expenditures? Do I need it? Was it an impulse buy? Because who else is impulsive? Anybody else on here impulsive? I lean toward more of an impulse. It's something I've had to work with over the years, but I do impulsive buys on stuff that I don't need. And we all do it. I think we're all probably guilty of it. But looking at stuff and saying, did I need to spend it on this? All right. Also, when we go to the store, we go to the checkout. Are we buying stuff at the register that we don't need? All right. Bob says, yes, very. Yeah, no, exactly. Impulse. All right. But, we look at that. Like, example, whenever we have to return stuff from Amazon, like a lot of times you return it to Kohl's, and then you return the stuff to Kohl's, and then you walk through like the home furnishing section of it, or what my wife does, and then all of a sudden you're returning stuff to get $50 credit back, but you ended up spending $250 on junk you didn't need. Like, who's ever done that one, right? I'm not impulsive, but I live with people who are, and I couldn't say no to them. Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you might have family members that are impulsive. How do we rein that in? A lot of that comes with doing this net worth tracking exercise and knowing where our money is, where we need to focus on, where we need to get out of debt, things like that. And so I can tell you from personal experience, I've got a baby on the way in February. So a lot of the conversations with my wife now has become, how do we financially make sure we set our baby up to where she never has to struggle financially? We do this stuff early enough, when she's first born, and we start putting a plan around it. Well, by the time she's 25, she's probably going to be in pretty good financial shape. So those are things that are important to me now that weren't so important yesterday, weren't so important a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. I told the example the other day, I want to buy a new car, and I don't need a new car, and it's kind of a lot of money. And I look at it and I say, well, if I use that money to invest for my daughter, it probably would set her up for life immediately. And so I think things differently now too. And I think a lot of that happens with our life situations as well. When I was a single guy living on my own, I didn't care as much because I knew I've got the ability to go sell and make money, and I know I'll always be able to take care of myself. So I was a little more cavalier with my spending. Now I've become a little bit more reserved. I still like nice things, and I want to figure out ways to go buy those things and make things happen. But I also make sure I'm putting a plan around my wealth strategy to make sure that I'm financially taken care of and my family's financially taken care of in the event something were to happen to me and my income goes away. So I think that's very important. And a lot of that comes in just reducing the expense that we have. And I'm a big believer in reducing the unnecessary expense, even if it's small, a couple bucks a month. Like I mentioned, like the additional storage. Do I need it? That's when I get dinged on. I do need it, but that's when I get dinged on was the additional storage for my email. You could also go to your iPhone. If you have an iPhone, and I'm sure you can do this on Android as well, but you click on your iCloud, you click on subscriptions, and you see all of the subscriptions you have, and you can quickly cancel them there. There was at one point we had Amazon Prime, where you can watch movies and stuff like that. We had Apple TV, we had Netflix, we had HBO Max or Max, whatever it's called, and maybe Sling. We had a bunch of them. I'm like, what? Do we need all these? We don't even watch half of them. So we canceled what we didn't watch. And so those are things we could look at too, where what can we be cutting out? But I challenge everybody this week to red light, green light. Pull your accounts for the last 3 months, pull your statements, print them off, get your highlighter, highlight everything, take a red marker and draw a line through it if you're going to kill it. If it's not giving you a return, get rid of it. If you're paying for lead services and they haven't generated a return, get rid of it. If you're paying for other things in your real estate business and they don't generate a return, get rid of it. Get rid of every single expense that you can now, get rid of them. Now, when you do that, you're going to start to see that all of a sudden you're taking more control over your financial situation and you're putting more focus on now, okay, I just eliminated $400 a month in things I don't need. I can take that extra $400, put it toward my credit card debt if I have any. And then also I'm getting on track with putting my percentage, I'm establishing my percentage of income coming in that's going directly to my debt. You'll be amazed at how fast you can get out of debt. You really will. I've had some agents I've worked with that have paid off, $20,000+ in high interest credit card debt in a matter of months when they employed the strategy. 30% immediately. Find ways to cut expenses in your business that you don't need and start applying money like that toward your credit card debt, and you can get out of it really quick. Question Leo asked, for real estate, there's a question that came in maybe off Facebook. For real estate agents with fluctuating income, what's the best strategy for paying down debt quickly while still setting aside funds for future investment? So if I have high interest debt, I'm not worried about saving for my future. I'm 100% focused on getting out of debt. So that's all I care about right now. Is if I have high interest credit card debt, my focus is not on investing. It's not on saving. It's not on buying investment properties. It's not on tax savings. It's none of that. It's get out of this debt, because we all know credit card debt is not, nobody has a 4% credit card. You might have lines of credit, but most of your credit card debt's going to be in the 20s, high teens to even high 20s, maybe even higher, depending on some factors. So if my income's fluctuating, that's why I establish my percentage. Because if I make 10 grand this month, I can throw 3,000 at it, and if I make nothing next month, I have to make sure I'm not adding to that balance. So I need to put my focus on how do I make 10 grand this month and 10 grand next month, and then increase my income and get to 15,000 a month and 20,000 a month. That is one of the fastest ways you can get out of debt too, is go make more money. Go make more sales, keep building your business. Don't allow the mindset to creep in right now that nothing happens in the fall, right? Things still happen. There's lots of business happening. So don't lose track or lose sight of the fact that you can still go have fantastic months. Statistically, from our team perspective and my personal experience, December is usually the second best month of the year for sales, because for the agents that keep their foot on the gas and keep selling and keep prospecting and keep making things happen, then you can really have some good months. Leo, pull that one back up. I didn't see it. The one from Joe. Setting a salary for yourself can be helpful for predicting income to live off. Yeah, definitely, Joe. So yeah, thanks for saying that too. For setting a salary for yourself. So if you were, we looked at, if you were on that thing earlier this week where we talked about pulling more profit from your business and how you allocate certain percentages for owner's compensation, for profit distributions, for tax, and then for your operating expense in your business. If you get in the habit of doing that as well, then you start to get in the habit of realizing that if you earn $100,000 in gross income commission, you didn't really earn $100,000, because a portion of that's going to go to taxes, a portion of that's going to go to your business expense. So you don't have a $100,000 lifestyle. What you have is maybe a $50,000 lifestyle. So that's where you have to establish what do I need to cover my expenses? So that's something that I think is important as well. When you do these exercises, you start to look at how much money do I need every month to cover my expenses? It might be $5,000 a month. It might be $2,000 a month. It might be $6,000 a month. Whatever the case may be, what do I need each month to cover my expenses? And that's what I'm going to pay myself essentially in the form of a salary. So if I start getting in the habit of really structuring my business correctly, now all of a sudden I'm paying myself a salary, and then I'm doing profit distributions, because on profit distributions, I'm paying less in tax as well. I'm going to pay higher on my earned income, or my income, but then on a profit distribution, I'm paying less in taxes. So if you can get your business to a point, or when you get your business to a point where you're able to pay yourself monthly a salary, and then you can continuously create income. This only works though when you have consistent closings month after month. So again, it goes back to, it doesn't work if I have one closing in January and then I don't close anything else until June. It does work if I have multiple closings in January, multiple in February, multiple in March, April, May, so on and so forth. So again, part of it is getting into having a really, really solid real estate business where we have money coming in consistently every single month. So that way it gives us the opportunity then to apply more debt and not live on the roller coaster of feast or famine. Right? We've all heard that expression in our business as well. Sorry, I got a water today. Yesterday, I had to talk for an hour and a half with no water. It's brutal. But we've all heard that expression that a lot of people would say, oh, real estate's just feast or famine. It's a roller coaster. Get used to it. It's the way it's always going to be. How horrible of a thought process to be like, well, I was 23 and I heard that. I'm like, wait a minute. So you're telling me for the next 30 to 40 years of my life, I'm just going to live kind of hand to mouth, and like some months are going to be great and the other months are going to be horrible, and I'm going to have to be stressed out about money. That's what real estate is. And it's not true, right? It's true for some people. Actually, I guess it's true for a large percentage of people that buy into the idea that it has to be true, but it doesn't have to be true. What can be true is you can have an abundant life and you can make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money every single month, and you can keep increasing that money and keep growing, and your accounts can get bigger, and you can pay off all your debt, and you can live as big of a life as you possibly want. A big part of that, though, is one, believing it's possible. Two, when you start setting a path on creating that income, executing on it daily, and then when that income starts coming in, making sure we're not increasing lifestyle yet. Right? If my income goes from 30,000 this year to 180,000 next year, I don't want to increase my lifestyle yet. What I do want to do is make sure I'm getting my debt paid off, and I'm investing that money then, once my debt's paid off, into assets that can pay me. And so that way I'm creating wealth for the future, so that at some point in my life, then I'll be able to have everything I want, but my assets are paying for it. I'm not paying for it out of the income I'm making out when I'm going out and showing houses and selling houses. So there's a difference there. And if you think about it, we talked about the mindset, right? Like you get a certain segment of society that just lives hand to mouth, meaning it's money comes in, it's gone. All right, it's gone. So as soon as it comes in, it's all spent, nothing left over. We're just waiting until Friday to get paid again, and there's nothing left over. And then you get kind of what we call the middle class, where they are taking their money and they're buying dumb shit with it. Like, and what I mean by that is they're buying stuff like boats and cars and stuff like that, but they're using their earned income to buy that. So they're taking that, they're buying things that are really liabilities, that are costing them money. It's not generating the money, and they're taking their earned income and buying this stuff. And then you've got the wealthy, and the wealthy mindset takes their earned income, they put it into things like real estate and other assets that generate passive income, and then they take that passive income and they start buying the dumb shit with it, like the boats and the cars and stuff they don't need. There's a difference though. One, I'm spending all of my earned income. The other, I'm investing my earned income into assets, which is going to offset tax liabilities, and then it's going to allow me to generate passive income. I'm building wealth. And then at a certain point in the future, I can start to take that wealth, and then I can afford to spend it on stuff that I don't need. All right, so that's the difference. So I want you to shift your mindset around that. But going back to for today's exercise, I hope this was helpful. I hope it just starts to create a little bit of kind of just some attention, So, I find that money follows attention. When we start to pay attention to our money, we start to make more of it. When we have, like myself in my mid-20s, where it was just all about head in the sand, hope one day this changes. Oh, woe is me. Oh God, I have all this debt. How am I ever going to get out of this? Right? Nothing good came from that person. That person was broke. right? And then when I took accountability for my life and said, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to make this happen, that's when everything started to change. So no matter where you are today in your financial situation, know one, that there's a way out of it. There's a way out of it. You can make this happen, but it starts with taking accountability for the present situation that you're in, owning that and saying, yes, I'm here because of the choices I've made. Even if somebody, let's say somebody like really screwed you over, right, or ripped you off or took your money, it's still your fault. If you listen to Jocko Willink, right, extreme ownership, you allowed that to happen. And that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. But when we do that, we quit placing blame on others and we take full responsibility for our own lives. And we know that we're the only person that's going to be able to change our lives. No one's going to do it for us. Doesn't matter how nice of a person we are, there are very few people that are going to come help us. We have to go do it ourselves. We have to put in the work. We have to be disciplined. We have to make it happen. And so I hope this was helpful. Pull out your last 3 months of bank statements, pull out your last 3 months of credit cards, green light those, the red light, green light. Get rid of the stuff you don't need, even if it's small, 20 bucks a month, whatever the case may be, get rid of it. Let's go out, let's knock out our debt, and let's start creating some wealth. So appreciate everybody being on. We'll see you next time. That's all we got. Thanks, everybody.